Donald Trump on Thursday did something the globalists have dreaded for 50 years. He bet his name and his company, Truth Social, fully behind developing commercial fusion power. Truth Social is now merging with a fusion energy company, TAE Technologies, to produce the first commercial fusion reactor. Like Sputnik in the 1950s and 60s, this is the new space race. The nation that wins the fusion race will wield enormous economic and military power and dominate the entire next century. Here's Devin Nunes, the CEO of Truth Social and the head of the President's Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board, talking about it.
Now, I spent a lot of time in Congress working on nuclear power. Unfortunately, legislation that I proposed, 20 years ago didn't pass because the Congress decided that they should invest in windmills and solar panels. However, there was a company called TAE, the one that we're merging with, that actually continued to invest. So families like Chuck Schwab's family, investors like Stanley Druckenmiller, Google, Chevron, many others continued to invest in TAE. So this is private money, not government money. But for a quarter century, they've amassed the best scientists that the world has to offer. And they've produced now, they've built 5 generations of the reactor. And now we're stepping in, folding them into our company so that we can help them build their first reactor. So this is a fusion reactor. It's clean. It's one that the first one will be up to 50 megawatts. The future ones will be somewhere between 350 to 500. Now, what does that mean? Wow. That means these are big enough to replace pretty much or add to the existing power generation that we have in this country. It's a good size. Now, look, this is breakthrough technology. When this is done, and I don't say this lightly, this will be the most important discovery and invention since the first Manhattan Project.
The mainstream media is, of course, belittling this. They are telling you that President Trump has already lost the 2026 midterms. But folks, he's only been in office for 10 months, and he's reversing decades of economic rot. And in his Wednesday speech, Trump roared back like a lion concerning prices and affordability.
Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation has stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected. And our country is back, stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen.
We're poised for another economic boom. And that boom will be fueled by fusion, and Trump is betting everything on it. It's the key to how you build the economy of the future, one that creates sustained prosperity for our countries and our allies. I'm Barbara Boyd. In 1973, my friends and I began campaigning for fusion through the Fusion Energy Foundation. Today, I'm going to do 3 things. Show you what Trump is actually doing on prices and affordability, and why the Democrats picked exactly the wrong fight. Explain how fusion power is the key to sustained prosperity, not just short-term survival. You probably also heard this week about the assassination of Nuno Loureiro, the brilliant MIT fusion scientist. Could this be an attack on Trump's push for fusion? I'm going to lay out Trump's broader leap into the future, from fusion to the moon, to Mars, and to a new era of missile defense and space exploration. He laid all of this out this week, and you probably haven't heard about it. But before we dig in, please like and share this video on YouTube. It makes the algorithm happy and increases our reach. Let's start with the so-called affordability crisis and the real picture. Energy prices, the single biggest driver of prices across the economy, are way down compared to the Biden peak. Rents are finally sliding after being driven through the roof by speculative bubbles, the Biden money printing binge, and, of course, massive uncontrolled immigration. Headline inflation is down 2.7%. And for the first time in years, wages are rising faster than inflation. And instead of crashing the economy, Trump's tariffs have brought in more than $17 trillion in new investment. That is not a typo. That's what happens when you put a cost on outsourcing and invite capital to rebuild the productive United States. Most important, Those tariffs are bringing manufacturing back home at record rates. Real factories, real machine tools, real supply chains, real jobs. And those jobs are for American citizens in private industry and manufacturing, not bloated government hiring. You can learn a whole lot more about this by subscribing to the Promethean Action newsletter. The link is in the description. On Thursday, the president announced a major deal with Big Pharma to crash prescription drug prices here to the lowest price anywhere in the world. Here's HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about Trump's prescription drug deal.
And I was reminded about how astonishing this achievement is. A couple of days ago, when one of my sons, 29 years old, very, very left-wing Democrat, and disagrees with a lot of the policies of this administration, he called me and he said, "Dad, I want to tell you how proud I am about this. This is the best achievement that could happen to our country. This is something Bernie Sanders has been clamoring for 25 years. Elizabeth Warren has been clamoring for. Joe Biden promised the American people. President Obama, President Clinton all promised to do this for the American people. All of them expressed their outrage, their indignation that we are paying 1/10 in some cases the price of drugs that they're selling in Europe. We developed them here. We manufactured some of them in New Jersey. We were paying $1,300 for a drug manufactured in New Jersey. The same drug manufactured in the same plant was being sold for $88 in London. And everybody recognized how unfair this was. We were paying for all the innovation in this country. And yet, the rest of the world was free riding on it.
It's not just about prices. The administration is forcing Big Pharma to build the factories here. Soon, 96% of the drugs we rely on will be manufactured right here. We're no longer going to be dependent on China and random supply chains for life-critical medicines. Trump has vowed that the health insurers are his next big targets.
I'm going to call a meeting. It could be in Florida this coming week, or it could be back in the White House the first week, not the second or third week. I'm going to call a meeting of the big insurance companies that have gotten so rich by receiving money and really much far more money than they're entitled to. And I have a feeling maybe if they would act like these incredible, brilliant, responsible citizens behind me, people that love our country and they love the world. I mean, frankly, these are international companies for the most part. I'm going to call a meeting of the insurance companies. I'm going to see if they get their price down, to put it very bluntly. And I think that is a very big statement. And what happened here is the biggest statement of all, because nobody thought a thing like this was possible.
Now, he's going to be taking further actions to bring prices down where he can. And that brings us to the deeper question. Once you stabilize prices, how do you avoid the next crash? How do you build an economy that doesn't live on bubbles and bailouts? That's where fusion comes in. And that's why the oligarchs and the globalists are so desperate to stop it. TAE, the company True Social is merging with, uses a breakthrough approach to creating fusion, which they have been working on for years. The New York Times has led the media sneering. It says the involvement of Trump's company creates a huge ethical problem, huge conflicts of interest. Now, the Times has been the leader in the effort to sabotage fusion development in the United States since its inception. So what is it they're so afraid of? Fusion energy really does change everything. Its primary fuel is deuterium from seawater. Its main output is helium. It is truly clean and readily available. It releases nearly 4 million times more energy than an equal amount of oil, gas, or coal, and about 4 times more than conventional fission reactors. Its byproducts and associated technologies in lasers, superconductors, advanced materials drive innovation across the entire economy. Massive fusion power desalination can provide fresh water anywhere on the planet. Fusion-powered rockets can enable fast trips to Mars, cutting travel times down dramatically and making real colonization viable. The laser and plasma technologies developed for fusion are exactly the kind of tools you need for Trump's vision of an Iron Dome-style missile defense system, a system that makes nuclear blackmail obsolete. Clearly, whoever wins this race will hold incredible power economically and militarily. Now, put that in context with what just happened last week at MIT. Nuno Loureiro was a leading scientist at MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, a man at the cutting edge of the very technologies we're talking about, and he was assassinated. The official spin is that this was just professional jealousy, a personal vendetta. But if you understand what fusion means for the globalist financial crowd, you have to ask a different question. Was this an assassination by an enemy of the United States, foreign or domestic? So when you hear Trump talk about tariffs, cheap drugs, and rebuilding industry, don't hear it as a grab bag of policies. See the through line. He is trying to break the back of a global system that survives only by rationing energy, collapsing living standards, and telling you the future must be smaller. Fusion is the opposite. It presupposes that the human mind is the ultimate resource and that the universe is knowable and improvable. To fill out the week, on December 18th, President Trump signed a new executive order on defense and space exploration, spelling out America's priorities in the next great arena of human history. The executive order sets real dates: 2028 for a return to the moon, 2028 for a prototype missile defense system, the first practical step towards an Iron Dome-style shield against nuclear attack, 2030 to begin colonizing the moon, including the use of nuclear reactors to power permanent bases, and a near-term mission to Mars. The executive order explicitly says what John F. Kennedy understood in the 1960s, that this kind of great national mission challenges and fires the imagination of a new generation of young people. It organizes the best of their energies and skills. The Apollo program also didn't just put flags on the moon. It returned an estimated $5 to $7 to each dollar spent in new industries, new products, new processes, whole new families of jobs. The Trump push into the future will do the same thing. This is the real New World Order the globalists fear, not because it's authoritarian, but because it ends their model of controlled chaos and managed decline. This is the real fight, not left versus right or Republican versus Democrat. It's a fight between an elite scarcity cult and a human future. So let's get back to where we started. Once the American people understand that we do not have to live in a world of shrinking expectations and managed decline, the whole globalist project is finished. That's what Donald Trump is really doing, finishing them off. If you want to be a part of ending that horrible project, here's what you can do. Subscribe to the Promethean Action newsletter. The link is in the description. We're going to be producing clear, printable materials on tariffs, fusion, nuclear, and Trump's space program that you can take to your neighbors, your union halls, your church groups, and talk to the young people in your life about this. Show them that politics is not just about cultural shouting matches. It's about whether they're going to live in a world of rationing and surveillance or a world of fusion energy, moon bases, and Mars missions. I'm Barbara Boyd, and this has been your Saturday Wrap. Stay curious, stay courageous, and I'll see you again on Monday.
Thanks for watching. Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com.